Hey, every. All right, let me make sure that all the volume is correct here and everything, so I don't have to have any reverb going on here. Wait for a few people to get in here. Just thought I'd do this live stream here. Might as well. Saturday night, right? What else is there to do? Got back from my son's. We did a soccer practice today, so got my exercise in here. I thought we'd take a look at the tropical storm Hone bearing down on the Big Island right now. I had some family calling from out there, wanted to know if they were going to be able to fly tomorrow from Honolulu to Hilo, and they've already canceled flights today. Quite a few flights got canceled, so probably not going to happen. There's a lot of logistics going on here. I mean, it's not just the winds at the surface. There's strong winds aloft and blustery conditions, low visibility, and people are having a hard time getting back and forth to the airport and whatnot. And you got to think about not just the travelers, but the workers that have to get to Hilo, and there might be some flooding ongoing and whatnot. So it'll be kind of a big deal. So yeah, always interesting to see these tropical systems. You never know exactly how they're going to act. Some of these really get ripped apart quickly before they get to the island. Some of them, can overperform. They can take unusual erratic turns as well. So yeah, it's always interesting to watch. I did live there for 4 years, and I did go through a couple that got somewhat close. Let me update the channel here and see. There we go. The live stream is ready to go. So I'm going to click on that, make sure the volume is off. Sound is good, I hear. Okay, good. New subscribers in the house. Thank you. Yeah, we went over 70,000 today also. And this is the Big Island right now. Looks like they've got some flood advisories out there. Big Island of Hawaii. 2 to 4 inches already over a windward Big Island so far today. Not totally crazy for them, but you put it across a big swath of the entire island, and you can get some pretty wild stuff going on there. I mean, you can get flooding no matter where you are. Sounders beat the loons. Okay, let me make sure I've got everything here. I'm going to put this on I'll put it on X here really quick so I can try to get a moderator or two in here. Bear with me for a second. I'm not sure why that comes up like that, but okay, let me try to send this out really quickly here. Hopefully that works. Let me just double check. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe I have to click this share button there and just copy the link manually. Let's try that. I'll edit this. There we go. Okay, let me check in on the chat here, make sure we got people in here. Looks like everything is good. Yeah, so in Hawaii right now, it is 5:24. It's 8:24 here in Seattle, Pacific Standard Time. Take a look at the mid-level water vapor loop. So right now you can see the circulation is a bit ragged, but there is some pretty good convection flaring. It looks like on the north west quadrant there, it looks like the center is probably right in here, but you can see the huge slug of moisture rolling in here. That'll be good because there's a pretty tight pressure gradient across the islands. I talked to Cliff Mass a little bit today about, he did a paper about the Hawaii fires last year. A little bit of a similar setup here, just in the fact that there's a pretty good pressure gradient between the central Pacific Ocean and down across the Hawaiian Islands. But thank goodness the overall synoptic setup is a little bit different just because it's a little bit more moist. But in advance of the storm, that was when the most concern was for some of the fires on the leeward portions of each island. So hopefully when this moisture comes over, it kind of puts an end to that threat Thank you, Dennis, for the kind generosity. Pacific Standard Time here in Seattle. Is that? Or are we on daylight savings time? That's, yeah, daylight savings. Yeah, hopefully they get lined or rebuilt, and hopefully they make room for the local shop owners, so it doesn't get bought out, because it's very valuable land out there, and hopefully it's not getting bought out by, it's not become a giant strip mall or something like that. You got to get those local shops back out there, surf shops, poke, shave ice. Yep, Hawaii is 3 hours behind. That is correct. 5:24, 5:26 in Hawaii right now. But yeah, and also we've got, let me check the radar omega here, and you can kind of see it. You can see the circulation actually a little bit better on the Doppler itself. And a lot of times in these tropical storms, the north quadrant here is the strongest. And you can kind of see out in front of that too, you've got a lot of convergent bands, a lot of precipitation ongoing here. And the Doppler radar here, this is the, yeah, so this Doppler radar here, you notice it gets cut off in the terrain pretty quickly. So it's a little bit deceptive, because when you see moderate rain coming up the slope here, that's usually a pretty good indication that some of it is going to be heavy, and it gets blocked off by the terrain quickly. And then there's another Doppler in the north portion of the island, and you kind of see it does not see all that precipitation happening just to the south and southeast and southwest of Hilo, for example. So this one, of course, is going to paint a better picture there for the tropical system itself, Hone. And it's going to be interesting to see, is this north band going to kind of clip south point here? It's looking kind of close, a little bit closer than what some of the models were saying it looks like, and it could cause some pretty nasty flooding there. Tropical storm warnings, got flood watches, flood advisories are ongoing. Yeah, they should be okay in Kona. I would just kind of be careful. The winds are going to be strong. Some of the downsloping winds, depending on exactly where you live, like Waikoloa Village up here, there's probably some strong winds coming, between some of the gaps here, Waimea, Saddle Road out there. So I wouldn't be out and about traveling, but you stick at home, and as long as nothing's going on, no fires or anything like that, you should be all right overall. You just don't want to be caught out on the roads, or if you're in low-lying areas. And because some of this precipitation can be pretty hot and heavy, and you want to watch out for that. And you be careful, just because the winds could be picking up a bit, and some of the trees can come down fairly easily. There's a lot of non-native trees out there they can be kind of damaging when they start falling. Thanks for the kind words, everybody. Oh, we got somebody. Michael Irving is in South Point now. Just started to rain hard. Yeah, it looks like you're getting some good precipitation right here. You notice the Doppler radar, you can't see up the terrain here. But if we change the tilt, can I change? I'm not so, let's see. Here we go. We'll go to tilt 2. No, it doesn't help much. We'll go to tilt 3. The tilt, you can actually manually change the tilt of the Doppler radar, so you can actually look up into the atmosphere more. But the terrain climbs so quickly once you go off to the west here that you really can't see much. As we got Mauna Loa out here. You got a huge 14,000 foot mountain from sea level in a pretty quick amount of, you don't have to go a far distance here to get to Mauna Loa there. There's Mauna Loa right here. There's Mauna Kea right there in the Saddle Road that goes through here. If you're driving back and forth from Kona to Hilo, that's the quickest way through. I also like to drive around the north side sometimes too, and kind of stop and look out at the viewpoints. Apahoihoi is right here, and there's Hilo. And you can see as I scan higher in the atmosphere on the tilt 4, if I go back to tilt 1, You can kind of see you don't pick it up here as well because you start to get a little bit of interference from the terrain. The beam scans across here and you can see there's volcano and there's Mountain View there. That's where some of the family lives, is Mountain View and Hilo, my wife's side of the family. And yeah, it looks a little bit different here. Actually, let's check out, let's do this. You can see the sun just starting to get lower in the sky here, but you can see some still pretty deep convection still ongoing with this storm. You can see some of these bands really moving on. So it's going to be raining for some time on the windward side of the Big Island, especially. Like some of the models were saying, you know, you could be up over 10 inches for some locations. Jack J, thank you for the generosity. Thank you very much. You guys make this channel possible. It's still tropical storm right now currently. Actually, that's a good... Let me check this here. Let's go ahead. I think I might have kicked that off. Nope, here we go. So I'm going to update this, and let's just see what they're talking about. And what is going on with Gilma there, too? But let's take a look. They right now don't have it turning to a hurricane, so that's good. They kind of downgraded that little strengthening trend as it goes by the islands. Probably the wind shear is going to be working on the system a bit. And they also do a nice discussion here. After briefly being exposed, a low-level circulation that you can see on the Doppler radar, as I mentioned, has become obscured. Deep convection once again late this afternoon. Overall organization remains steady. Motion is slowed a bit, deviated very slightly right of track over the past 6 hours. And that's what I was talking about a little bit here as well. You can see these bands are going to, if you line that up with South Point, that's going to be really close. And some of the models were showing that more torrential rainfall a little bit further south. So for, you know, there's been a little bit of a jog north here. So that could start to affect Pahala and places like that, maybe Ocean View. South Point, maybe get the winds a little bit closer also. So they did mention that Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter, maximum sustained winds of 51 knots. So it's still at 55 knots. 64 knots, you can get to 64 knots and that becomes a hurricane. So moving a bit north of due west, that would kind of create a little bit more problems for some of the Big Island. Heavy rain, no strong wind just yet. Makes sense. Blue sky today on the lower Oregon coast. Oregon coast is beautiful. Yeah, I enjoyed my time out there in Hawaii. I had a good time out there. I lived there for about 4 years on Oahu. I worked for Island Air for about 3.5 of those years, and then for a few months at Island Air, or Hawaiian Airlines before I went to Alaska Airlines. And now we have bought Hawaiian Airlines, so we're going to merge. And I still recognize some people on the seniority list, so I'm going to be reunited with some people that I actually worked with in Hawaii at Alaska Airlines. It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they come to Seattle or how this merger is going to happen. Can't wait to see how that goes. They talk about this here. The sea surface temperature from 26 to 27 Celsius, light to moderate vertical wind shear, marginally sufficient mid-level moisture along the path. So slow strengthening will continue into Sunday. I don't know if that means Sunday night. So then you get a little bit warmer water. And then intensity 60 knots Sunday and Monday, just below hurricane strength. So it could still become a hurricane. But of course, as it goes further west, increasing vertical wind shear, like they mentioned here, and then it starts to weaken. It's going to tear apart some of that deeper convection. You can see a little bit of shear maybe working on it. I don't know. I don't see too much right now. You can see the spin. There is deep convection firing up. I wouldn't be completely surprised if this got to be a marginal hurricane, but I don't know if it'll officially be denoted as such. Yeah, I thought about going out there for a bit, but I do have to work on Tuesday, and I know the logistics on what happens on the Hawaiian Islands. Anytime the typical trades aren't blowing or if things get crazy and you've got heavy rainfall and you've got strong wind shear, air traffic control and aviation out in the Hawaiian Islands really kind of takes a back seat, and you get cancellations and all kinds of bad things can happen. I remember working island air and trying to fly those island hoppers when you had some severe weather around, or you had some active conditions or IFR and heavy rain and strong winds. Look at the wave action across Oahu there too. Pretty intense. So yeah, there's probably some nasty turbulence coming into some of these islands as well. They got to take that into account. And if you guys are just joining here, I'm going to put this into motion. This is, what tilt are we on? We're on tilt 1 there. So we're scanning out across the Pacific Ocean off to the south and east of the Big Island. And you can see the circulation is right here. And again, a little bit of a jog north. So some of these heavier rainfall bands may move on to portions of South Point. But the big story is, there's just going to be this persistent orographic precipitation here along the Big Island. Some of these convective bands in here as well will have some heavier rain in that. And you're probably going to be looking at, some places will be getting over a foot of precipitation with this event. This is looking at the high resolution rapid refresh. It's still, so it shows the system right there. So that's where we are right about now. And it still shows this very heavy precipitation amounts just south of South Point here as we go through about 3 in the morning. And then it moves on to the west. But you can see the precipitation just continuing along some of the Big Island all the way on in through tomorrow evening. And again, the winds will be strong, especially through the channels, a lot of wind shear aloft. So you check ahead if you're flying out and about, especially between islands and whatnot. Yeah, Kauai, man. You guys got Iniki in 1992. It's pretty interesting. They were filming Jurassic Park at that time as well. Some of the footage from the hurricane itself was actually in the movie. So I'm going to close that out. I'm going to take a look around. Actually, let's look at the Windy app as well. So this is about as we speak right now. So you can see the winds. I mean, there might be some blustery winds here, especially along some of the coastal areas. Between the channels here, you can see Hana there for Maui, Kahului, Lahaina is over here. Doesn't look like too bad right now. So hopefully they didn't get the nasty downslope winds here, and hopefully there's no fires on any of the islands because those get spread rapidly in advance of that system where the air is drier. But as soon as this slug of moisture gets back across the area, it should really help out with the relative humidities. Yeah, they got some free special effects there, and they kind of worked that into the story. They talked about the tropical system moving towards the island. That's why they cut short the tour in the movie and whatnot. So interesting stuff there. I mean, it's nice that they worked that into the film, I think. Pretty active tropics right now. You can see there again, there's Hawaii with the Hawaiian Islands. There's Gilma out here. Actually, that's something I want to do as well. I want to check on Gilma. Where is she here? Oh, that's right. She's going to be in the... Let's do this. We're going to go back to the Eastern Pacific Hurricane Center. There we are. There is Gilma, Hurricane Gilma. And you can see it's still a tropical storm. Is it 140 west is when it gets into the Central Pacific Hurricane Center's forecast area. So it still is supposed to be a hurricane by that point. But again, it should be weakening by the time it gets towards closer to the Hawaiian Islands. Actually, let's look at the most recent European here as well. So there is Hone right now, Hawaiian Islands. Actually, this is not right now. Let's go to 3Z. So right about here. And there's Gilma out here. So if we watch Gilma too, see Hone pass. A little bit of a wobble to the northwest. Not sure what this one's going to be named here. There's Gilma here. You can kind of see Gilma. It looks like it's getting a little bit smaller. Its overall moisture field is kind of relaxed there. Let's take a look at the GFS. We can look out a little bit further. Yeah, so when you're dealing with the red flag warnings on the leeward side of the islands, you got huge mountain terrain here. So you get these downsloping winds and you get that compression with the winds on the leeward side of the islands. Let me see what if I can bring that up here. Let's go to lower level water. See if any of this shows up. So you can see the drier air here, for example. It doesn't look like it was too bad across some of the islands here. But yeah, a lot of this moisture gets, like when these tropical systems hit the big island, they can really get their circulations disrupted and you lose a lot of that moisture on the windward side. So the leeward sides tend to be much drier. And of course, the downsloping just reduces that relative humidity as well. It's kind of like a hydraulic jump, something similar to what was going on last year in Lahaina. The intense pressure gradient, strong downsloping winds just ripping across the area, and the relative humidities were lower during that last round when the extreme firestorms just rolled through West Maui. But yeah, some places are not going to be getting as much precipitation as others, like the Big Island and some of Maui. The windward side there is going to get hammered, and some of the windward sides of the other island will get a bit of rainfall, but the leeward side is definitely much drier. So if you've ever been to Maui, for example, and you go out there, you can see cactus and desert on the leeward side of Haleakala versus Hana, Maui. On the other side is just a pure rainforest, and same thing with like places on Kauai where it's just extremely wet, and you do have some dry areas in the leeward side of the island. So when I say leeward, you tend to get the trade winds and whatnot out of the northeast, and they slam into the islands here. And then the leeward side are known as the coastal areas here, like on the southwest and on the south portions of all these islands. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so let's look at that. What was I looking at here? Let's check out that too while we're here. Let's do, will this update or do I need to go back out? We're going to take a look at the most recent here. We're going to look at total precipitation. See if we can get this to load. So when you see the yellow, then the orange is 5 inches, then the darker orange is 10. So you see places like, I think there's Hilo is right in here. Then places just up the slope here. Mountain Home is somewhere right in here. You could be looking at over 10 inches for like Mountain Home, and some places still Prague to get 15 inches. You can also see on the Kona side, you're getting much less. I mean, you see on the Kona shores out there, Waikoloa Village, for example, you're looking at maybe 1/10 of an inch or something like that. In some areas, maybe 1/4 of an inch, just a bit of rain, but much drier. I mean, orders of magnitude more rainfall on the windward sides of these islands. And you can see, look at Haleakala. You're talking about 10 inches for some areas versus 0, nothing there on the south shore. And same thing kind of there for Molokai. You can kind of see it running into the sea cliffs over there. And Oahu, we're not looking at as near as much rainfall as like places like Maui and whatnot. So this goes out how far? Let's see. And again, kind of the leeward side there of Kauai, you can see even nothing. And some places to Honolulu aren't scheduled to get any precipitation. But a pretty impressive swath of 15+ inch precipitation values showing up there. Charles, thank you for the generosity. You guys make this channel possible. Hawaiian acres getting slammed. You guys getting wind right now, or is it just heavy rainfall? But yeah, it's pretty impressive. I mean, you've got 14,000-foot mountains, 2 of them on the Big Island, and you've got, a tropical area and just kind of out in the middle ocean. It's I think Hawaiian Islands are the most isolated island chain on the planet. So you can get some crazy weather there. And when I lived on Honolulu, you would see rock slides and things like that, and it happens on the Big Island and stuff too. A lot of terrain features. And they like to keep the country out there in the Hawaiian Islands. And, you don't want a bunch of, try not to build a bunch of paved roads all across the area. So there's still a lot of remote areas on the islands. You can see the Big Island is a pretty big place. This is the Weather Channel. That's right. So is Gilma still a major hurricane right now? I've not been paying too much attention because it's kind of out there in no man's land. Gilma continues to defy the odds and intensify. Well-organized, strengthening hurricane. The eye wall is tightly wrapped, producing deep convection with lightning depicted in the northern eye wall. On the satellite imagery, the eye has become circular, well-defined, and has been clearing out. Let's see, what do they have to say here else? Initial intensity raised to 110 sustained knots. Therefore, Gilma strengthening has met the definition of rapid intensification. Impressive. It strengthened 30 knots in 12 hours. That is pretty amazing. Let me see if I can get back out to the mesoscale stuff here. And I want to look at, let's do Hurricane Gilma. I'm kind of interested to see. Yeah, look at that eye. Man, what a well-developed storm. Perfect outflow. Doesn't look annular, but still very impressive on the eye. Yeah, these things are just machines. I mean, it's just a result of the atmosphere on Earth. The hurricane is trying to bring heat from the tropics, and it tries to push that off to the poles. I mean, it doesn't know that it's doing that. It's just the heat transfer that is taking place on the planet Earth. Coriolis effect helps to get this thing rotating. Thunderstorms are powered by the sea surface temperatures. And you know, it's funny because I chase dust devils, and dust devils are also powered by their surface, you know, the heat at the surface, kind of similar to what hurricanes are. And when they get off of their heat source, like a dust devil moving over grass, they lose their circulation rather rapidly, and they lose their strength quite rapidly as well. So dust devils are quite like hurricanes, if you can believe that. You got smoke in downtown Everett. What's going on up there? Yeah, the rapid intensification you can kind of see flaring up there. So yeah, Gilma is looking like a beast right now. A major hurricane continues. And let's jump back out here. Let's go to the GOES 18 again. So if you're just joining, here's Hone right here. It's already brought pretty good amounts of rain to the Big Island. Let's see if did I get a response back? I asked if the Big Island was getting actually wind, or was it just rain right now? Somebody said they were getting hammered on the Big Island. Hawaiian Acres getting slammed. I didn't see a respond back on that. Gilma should not be a problem. So I see the Ramarie Flores mentioning Gilma. It's a major hurricane now, but this is a long way to go. And as you can see, there's drier air here. That kind of can work on tropical systems as well. And the sea surface temperatures are a bit cooler in this area versus a little bit further south. So Gilma's going to run into that. There's going to be wind shear around. So it would be very, very unlikely that Gilma would maintain any kind of hurricane status as it approached the Hawaiian Islands. It could bring a bump in the precipitation, but that would likely be it. And so I can show you that here as well. Let's look at the GFS. This is just hot off the presses. So let's look at the 18Z GFS, which by chance is 8 a.m. in Hawaii. That is 11 a.m. for Seattle and Los Angeles. So put that into motion here. You can say Hone moving south of the Hawaiian Islands. Here comes Gilma. You can see it does get smaller. Smaller storm gets weakened. I mean, you can never say never, but still, that's just most likely to bring an increase of moisture versus anything else. Probably a bump in some of the wave action, but you're probably not going to be looking at a disruption to things. I will watch this closely just to see if something on that front changes, but clearly it's at its strongest probably right now and over the next day or so. I mean, look at that intense eye wall. You can see it just looks like a buzzsaw out there across the Pacific Ocean. And I don't know if they've named that storm to its east as well. Let's check that out. Not yet. Disturbance 1, 80% chance of tropical cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. And it looks like it does do some developing there as well. If we back that up. Yeah, I mean, that thing wants to become a hurricane also. And I should have looked into this, but I don't know how much the Madden-Julian oscillation is playing into this increased tropical cyclone activity here across the eastern Pacific, but it may have a play in that. Yeah, last weekend's storm was pretty awesome. I mean, we had a pretty good lightning event go over the Cascades, but it was nothing like what happened last weekend. Saturday and Sunday, we got hammered. No wind in Kona right now. It's good. Glad Ryan could stop by and help moderate here. Hawaii native here. Kauai, to be more specific. My parents are here staying with my brother in Washington. Yeah, maybe a good time to take a break. When they get back, they'll be like, what tropical storm? Oh yeah, we could actually do that as well. Let's do that. That's a good one. So we'll do good idea here. So I set up a Tempest station in Mountain View, my wife's family's house out there. Is this it right here? Or is this it here? I believe that's the school there, Volcano. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. But you can see the rain intensity. Look at that, very heavy. 1.16 inches per hour, 4.43 inches of rain. There's actually been lightning around as well. Look at that, a lightning strike. That's pretty interesting also. There's also some stations out in Volcano, no recent observations. Very heavy rainfall falling there. There's Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. So I think that this is the house here. Yes, it is. Okay, so yep, that's where he's got it. That is it, correct. So you can click on, if you guys want one of these stations too, you can click on like my Pacific Northwest, the Northwest one today, and if you want to get one, you can pick one up there. These are very fun. But look at this, just look at how long the heavy rain's been going on. If we take a look back, you can see about 9:30 a.m. it started raining moderately, got a little bit of break right about 1, and then boom, we've been at heavy, we've been at heavy or very heavy all the way since about 2:30. So what is that, 5:30? So 3 hours so far of heavy or very heavy rain. Yeah, just wild precipitation totals here. A little bit of sun got out there a little bit earlier. Look at this. Look at this wind came through here. I wonder if this is part of some convective activity that moved through with that thunderstorm, because look at that wind speed, 37 knots just out of nowhere. And it's a fairly sheltered area there. I mean, it's not like it's on a big system on top of a roof. This is in a yard. That is an impressive gust. Look at that, 37.4 miles per hour. And actually, let me take a look at again what time that was. So that was at 4 p.m. So let's do this. Let's back out. And I can't remember what station I clicked on here, but it did pick up, somebody picked up the lightning strike during this time frame. No. Was it out here? No. I can't remember where I clicked. But let's check another station here. Let's click here and let's see. I just want to see if that wind showed up at about 4 o'clock for them also. It did not. So it might have been some kind of convective activity there. But anyway, let's get back to the, I want to get back to the satellite imagery a little bit here, and let's look at Central Pacific storms. We've got a Hone is here. So you can see the spin in the atmosphere here on the visible, and you can see the deep convection firing up, but it's definitely not as strong as a Gilma. Thanks, Ryan, for posting the link. Thank you very much. Yeah, we can take a look here too. We could actually scroll back and look at that as well, but yeah, it's hard to tell on the Doppler too much there. But yeah, as you can see, there's bands of some very heavy rain making their way onto the big island right now. And if we go to, let's put this into motion as well. So some of the outer bands are now here. You can see some of the showers now making their way into Haleakala. There's Hana right here, but not too bad yet. And I forget where the other Doppler radar is here. Didn't it used to be on Molokai? There it is. Oh, it's out of service right now. For whatever reason, it is down. And I know we have another one here on the south shore of Kauai. But that is not picking up much right now either. So this is definitely the radar to be on. Okay, so let me bounce out here again, and we're going to take a look at not sure that it picked up that one. You can kind of see the center of the circulation got exposed there for a bit. The deep convection flared up again. When the deep convection flares up, that's a sign of a strengthening storm as well. It'll probably get a little bit stronger here as it's passing south of the island. So the rain and wind should be picking up for some areas here shortly. Also, we were looking at the windy map here. You can see just how powerful some of the winds are coming through the channel here. So you can see the tropical winds, tropical storm force winds probably just hitting South Point and some of the south portion of the big island. Not that uncommon. It happens. I mean, this is a very popular track for some of these systems. Blake Watson, 8 miles from Volcano. We had a gust of 40 miles per hour for a couple hours. One tree fell down. Yeah, that's probably the same activity that I saw at the Mountain View station as well. So yeah, that's kind of some impressive winds. 40 miles per hour can definitely start to take down some trees. Let's update this as well. Yeah, the ATCF guidance has kind of degraded Hone a little bit here. So it still shows a fairly robust tropical storm, but not a hurricane. Same thing with the European. Same thing with the GFS. Look at the Canadian just for the heck of it. Similar. Ocean view, good coverage. Worry about high winds because he lives off grid. Yeah, a lot of the areas in the Big Island are used to very heavy rainfall, but you know, it's all good till it's not. When it comes to a flood, something happens and all of a sudden the water's in your house. It's never a good time. You guys still have audio? Audio good here? Okay. Oh, I didn't change the definition on this. Windstorm, everything Pacific Northwest. Oh, well. We're going to bounce out a little bit here, and we're going to do North America. I want to see something in the 18Z GFS because I want to look at heights. Actually, let's just do this. We're going to go to Oceanic. We're going to go to Northeast, and we're going to check out height anomalies here. You can see there's Hone and there's Gilma right there. So we've got this system coming through the Pacific Northwest. That one's going to keep us cool as we go to the early portion of next week. Tropical storms continue to be rolling around across the Pacific Ocean. And then I want to see if the GFS, it is picking a little bit up on this upper level low. Okay, I like that. That may be some active weather here for maybe along the west coast a little bit here. You kind of see the ridge all the way up into Canada, this upper level low right there. And a way to tell if this has any chance of spinning thunderstorm activity back across the Pacific Northwest, you can take a look at that cyclonic relative vorticity map. And you can see some of that negative tilt. They're trying to spin some of this activity. You can pop off some thunderstorms. These can be tricky little devils here. I was just looking at a case study. I think it was 2013, I want to say. I'm not sure exactly, but one of these systems produced a couple days of thunderstorms across the Pacific Northwest. You can kind of see that flow coming up out of the southeast. So that's kind of what I'm watching off in the future for some of the west coast. It could be affecting all the way from California to Washington up into BC. Matthew Fab here. Matt's got a new Facebook channel out. You can put the name of it on here. Western Washington weather, is it? Good old Facebook, YouTube, Twitter combination. Molokai is good for now. No problems in Molokai right now. There might be some breezy winds. Actually, that's a good. Actually, here let me do this. Let's go all the way out. Do we have stations on Molokai? Let's see. We have Tempest stations. We do. We have a couple. We have 2 stations on the island of Molokai. I went out there once and took like a day trip and just drove across. There are no streetlights on the entire island. There's like one stop sign. Pretty amazing place. Some of the biggest sea cliffs in the world are right here as well. But there are a couple stations out there. Take a look at that. Actually, they recorded a lightning strike, looks like, yesterday out there. Yeah, check it out. Yeah, but there are a couple stations there on Molokai. I've flown in there a couple times too on Island Air from Honolulu. I've flown into Lanai once also. Do they have one right at the airport there? Where's that one? We've got how many on Lanai? We have 2 stations on Lanai. Oh, that's a shame. Look at this. There used to be stations here in Lahaina. And it's crazy because I looked back at the data for Lahaina and you could see the wind just gusting, huge wind gusts, and then just all of the stations were gone when the power went out across the region here. And it doesn't look like these stations are back yet. Kaanapali. You can see all the stations further south. But yeah, it was pretty wild looking at some of the wind speeds on the Tempest weather stations when that firestorm was going on. Kahului. Where's Kihei on here? There we go. I like Big Beach down here too. Where's Big Beach at? Big Beach is somewhere right in here, isn't it? Look at somebody has a, is this for real? Molokini has a Tempest weather station on it. Is that right? I've never seen this before. You've reached the station owner's personal weather page. Real-time data is not currently available on this page. That's wild, but somebody has a station on Molokini. Western Washington weather on YouTube and Facebook. Oh yeah, I can give you guys that. Yeah, if you guys do order one, make sure to put the checkout code in there. It's just Weather Watch. Make sure it's in there and they'll give you 10% off. A lot of Tempest stations on Oahu. How many we got on Kauai? Oh, a lot of them on Kauai as well. Nothing out there on Niihau. Is Niihau still... Do I remember that right? Niihau has no power out there. They just live the old ways out there. Was it Robinson that used to own that island? And there's another island here actually actively building to the south and east of the Big Island. I wonder if that's it there. I forget the name of it. But yeah, there's Tropical Storm Hone right here. Right now it's not forecast to become a hurricane, but it is on the borderline here, right as it passes the Big Island. And they talked about it potentially, you know, becoming a very strong tropical storm. It's still a fairly robust one right now. A lot of heavy rain occurring on the Big Island. Could be some flooding concerns out there. Looks like I haven't heard anything yet, so hopefully we've dodged a bullet. There were red flag warnings for the leeward portion of the island for downsloping winds and low relative humidity. But with the arrival of the storm, we'll be bumping up those moisture values and hopefully putting an end to that fire threat. Loihi. Oh, yeah, that's right. So, oh, yeah, so this, what I use here for also is called, where'd it go? This program is glitchy though. This little Epic Pen here, and you got to pay like a monthly fee, but it's pretty cool having this thing on there. I forgot to put it on today. But it is a little bit glitchy here. I got to like restart it and shut it down and stuff. And yeah, it's too bad. I mean, what is it? They said in like 10,000 years it'll finally get above the surface of the ocean out there. Something crazy like that. And here you can see our 3 tropical systems. This one probably going to become a tropical storm or maybe even a hurricane over the next couple of days. There's major hurricane Gilma right now. It continues to defy odds per the Hurricane Center as it has a very nice eye on it. You can see it just continuing to march along the Pacific Ocean. And there's Hone right here with the Hawaiian Islands. But yeah, just a reminder, I know that there was a lot of flights being canceled around the Hawaiian Islands. If you're flying out there, make sure to check in, from the West Coast just to see what's going on. I mean, places like Kona and Honolulu should remain fairly good. Maui, flying in there, Bihui, should be all right. But you always check ahead, because when things aren't blowing friendly trade winds in the Hawaiian Islands, I learned firsthand in a brutal fashion, it got very, very busy. When you get the Kona winds, or you get tropical systems nearby, or you've got a big frontal system moving through, it would just get absolutely crazy out there. And then, of course, it would seem like the planes would just act up. You'd start getting heavy rain after just, months of nice, calm weather and trade winds and just morning showers and whatnot. And then all of a sudden you got a storm rolling through, and you've got planes that just seem to spring hydraulic leaks and stuff, and things don't want to work. And you're on Hawaii time, and nobody's in a rush to do much. Some flights could be affected here in Vancouver going to the big island Maui. But yeah, that's the thing with weather. If you're prepared, you can really do well even in the stronger storms. And then you always think, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal. But then you can probably remember times in your past where you didn't think it was going to do much, and you weren't that well prepared, and it was pretty disruptive. Or all of a sudden you were just kind of caught in a flood, or there was a thunderstorm at your son's soccer practice. Sometimes you let your guard down and things can spring on you and happen. But if you're prepared for it and you kind of know it, and then they cancel practice or they shut down the power grid so a big firestorm doesn't rip across West Maui, it's not a big deal, and you would have never heard about it, and you would have never even known that it happened. But it didn't get shut down, and of course, it killed 100+ people, and it just devastated the entire community out there. So then it becomes a big deal because we're human and we get disruptive when things go bad. So it's all good until it's not, as my buddy Ron Haynes says at work. It's all good till it's not. It's never a big deal until it is. You'd be like, that's what you want as a weatherman. You want people to say, oh, that wasn't too bad. That means the weatherman was doing his job and he got the word out. Because when people are prepared, you tend to handle things much better, and it doesn't seem like a big deal. But yeah, as far as Pacific Northwest goes as well, I really like that 18Z run here. I like that upper level low, potentially spreading stuff back up over the region, that southerly to fluent flow aloft. Maybe get some nice lightning strikes back across the region, or you can see that one work inland. And if I show you what it was showing earlier, let's look all the way back to this morning. If we look at this and compare, you see the GFS didn't really have this feature too much. Had a little bit of a blurb here, but this would be probably a little bit better. This one moves through a little bit too progressively. This one allows that negative tilt, some unstable air to get back across the area. So that would be kind of fun, and the European's been showing that as well. So if we go to the European and we go to the 12Z run here that goes out far enough to see that, and we'll take a look and compare it to last night's run. We scroll on ahead here, and you can see that cutoff low also here. It's a little bit further south though on the European, it looks like, but at least it's there. So we'll be watching it. These things can tend to be slow moving. And when can you see the development of this? Hour 144. So let's take a look at that. Let's go to, actually, I don't only be able to go 90 hours on that, but let's take a look here. There's 90. So we'll go to the 18Z and see if we can see it there as well. Yeah, it's there on the 18Z also. There's the 12Z. There's 90 hours out. We'll take a look at what it looks like on the heights. There it is. Refresh that. There it is, 90 hours out. So we'll look at the control, and then we can go out a little bit further. So how's that doing? Maybe a little bit further north there. So hopefully that GFS was onto something there where it brings out up cutoff low a little bit further north. This is going through the end of the week coming up here. So yeah, that could be something fun for the Pacific Northwest also. Yeah, I'm trying to like branch out a little bit, not to get all my ducks in a, or have my eggs in the same basket there on X and Twitter, because it seems like X is a little unstable. I don't know. It just seems like something's going on with the advertisers there, and I don't know if Elon Musk is going to end up selling that. It kind of seems a little bit weird, and I know that Mastodon has a lot of people on it, Blue Sky also, and my YouTube page is doing quite well, so I'd rather focus my attention on the YouTube page than to mess around too much with X. I do like it because I've built such a following over the past years, but I don't want to, I don't know. I'd like to branch out a little bit and have other options. Be prepared, not scared. That's correct. Flights in and out of Hilo are canceled until tomorrow. That is correct. Spokane got some rain yesterday. Had to change my truck battery in the parking lot during the initial wind dust storm. Yeah, I got a pretty good weather community up here in the Pacific Northwest. It's pretty good. We're always on top of things, discussing things. 162 people in the chat. Let's see, what else? Let's take a look at, see if we got any more recent data here. What are these running at? Are these coming in every 10 minutes? Looks like every 10-minute loop here. And let's take a look at the radar one more time. Pretty impressive looking on the Doppler, actually. I mean, it's a good thing this isn't a little bit further north, but still plenty of rainfall for Hilo coming in. Heavy rain going on right now. I like the raw text METAR best. This is like a language here. You can see you've got PHTO, that's the Hilo station identifier. You got the date 25th, 0328 Zulu. 050 is the direction, so that's northeast. You got 14 knots, gusting 23. 3 statute miles visibility. The plus means heavy rain. You got mist, overcast 1,200. Temperature and dew point 25, so that's 77. The dew point is 77. 29 or 9 or 5. Remarks, peak wind 26 knots at 0312 Zulu. Precipitation 1,300 of an inch in the last hour. Temperature 25. And yeah, so that is what a raw METAR is. You can kind of go through that and look at that raw data. If you speak METAR, it's very handy to do so. So some light rain up there at the military. And see if anybody knows what that is. What does the dollar sign mean at the end of the METAR there? School starting back up. Yeah, this is good for the fire season. I mean, this would be really good. Hopefully it can stop any fires across the Pacific Northwest, this upper level low. I mean, there's still time to get things going again, but that was very nice. And for anybody wondering, that sign there, it means maintenance required at the ESOS, Automated Surface Observation System. But yeah, I mean, don't go out if you don't have to. Hopefully you got enough things at home, and just watch out if you're in flood prone areas. As this water is making its way downstream, there's low-lying areas across portions of Hilo and stuff like that. So just kind of be careful out there. I don't advise going out in boats. Watch those winds coming through the channels. Flights may be canceled or delayed. You've got a lot of low-level wind shear coming across the islands, and these smaller planes don't do well with that. Check if you're trying to fly from the West Coast back out to Hawaii or vice versa. But what else? I think I'm going to wrap up the chat here. Hopefully you guys had some fun. We'll watch what's coming next here across the Pacific Northwest and California. We can start picking things back up again. It's been pretty active. We got another system rolling through here as well. In fact, I haven't looked at the Doppler here in a while. Let's see. Camino Island. Still got some showers out there moving around. Oh, we're starting to move back. Okay, so we're getting, this is a little bit of the wake of the system. A little bit of convergence here as these showers moving up Highway 2. Looks like some showers up here north of Marysville also, just by Stanwood. Thunderstorm activity. Check out Spokane. Where'd that wraparound moisture go? I don't see any of it. Looks like we got the northerlies here, so let's check Missoula. No, not too bad. That reminds me to do something here as well. Let's look at the so is that what's next up for the Pacific Northwest there? Yeah, it's swooping down across. Right now that lobe is out across the Aleutians. Yeah, so this is what's coming next for the Pacific Northwest. Save lives. All right, good to hear that. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I had two people mention to me that they had flying umbrellas from the big winds over the weekend, and I kind of mentioned that just off the top of my head, like, you know, watch your deck chairs, because I know people like to sit that stuff out. I do the same thing. I have ladders up and stuff. I'm doing something on the house, or I got the deck chairs out, or the umbrellas out, or my son's basketball hoop is out there, and if you don't secure those things, they'll go flying around and they can injure people and whatnot. So yeah, at the Normandy Park Swim Club, he mentioned that umbrellas were flying. And he's like, and I heard you mention that on your briefing. It's kind of funny. So yeah, it's good to hear that. Thanks for the kind words. Yeah, get on Mastodon if you can. We'll try to post there. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up the live stream here, you guys. I'm going to go start to wind down here. I'll do the normal briefings tomorrow, and maybe the Hawaii briefing again tomorrow morning, because the video got a lot of views today. I think I was up over 15,000 and a lot of new subscribers, I think, across the Hawaiian Islands. And when I eventually get things going more, I think I'm going to do like a Pacific weather watch type of deal, where I do Alaska, Hawaii, the entire Pacific Ocean. We watch out across the tropics east, and maybe what's coming next for the Pacific Northwest and things like that. I don't know, something like that, or maybe a USA or a North America weather watch, something like that. So ideas, I mean, if you guys have any ideas, leave them in the comments below as well. No Mary Poppins sightings, that's right. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you guys had a good night with the chat here, and I'll do my normal briefings tomorrow.